Hello everyone, my name is Hilda and Allan. Welcome to yet another episode of CCP Digest, and I'm here with my colleagues.
Alan Nisima is my name. A very good evening to Digesters.
Hello Digesters, I'm Timothy and I'm happy to be here.
In yet today's episode, we are going to talk about MTN. Many of us know about MTN. Most of us are MTN users in this country. So today we are going to dive into a topic where we see this MTN company, one of its organs is going to demerge from it. And I think Alan will be one of the best people to explain this topic.
Oh yeah, the new demerger now it's from Mtn Momo as a company with its new fintech company new fintech company. And in that deal, you have MTN as a broader group owning shares in very many African countries as a telecom company. Now it is growing its fintech arm, its new fintech arm called the New Fintech Company of MTN. Yes. Now that company will have people having shares from the MTN shareholders themselves, but then with the small trust, the minority group of the trust holding 23.9% in the shareholding of the new fintech company. Yes. And the results from the financial results from both of them will always be Momo will always have its own financial results independently, with the fintech arm also independently.
Could you please elaborate more about the fintech, the whole term?
Yeah, the fintech itself is financial technology. We are digitizing the economy, what we call e-economy. That now everyone who wants to deposit money can always do it online. So all financial transactions of mobile money are going online. Everything telecom is going online. That's what fintech is all about. And Timothy, I know he has a great deal of the merger and demerger business.
Yes.
Please, Timothy, would you please take us through?
Okay, demergers, like the term, is like when a company decides to split from another. So in this scenario of Mtn Momo splitting from Mtn Uganda in a certain area, it's called a split off. When one small company decides to become its own parent company, it splits from the parent company and becomes its own company. Okay, so one thing that people might ask on top of their minds is, why is MTN doing this?
Yes, primary goal.
The primary goal about it. Now, one thing that people should know is that the way telecoms are regulated is different from the way fintechs are regulated. Okay. Telecommunication networks or companies are regulated in a stiff way, and it's very hard to actually split the profits compared to fintech companies, right? Yeah. So one thing, MTN Momo has been like the backbone of MTN Uganda. If you look at the revenue, number one, from the revenue that MTN solicited at the end of 2024, MTN Momo brought in 980.24 billion, which is about 31% of MTN Uganda. Then if we look at the dividends that MTN actually pays to those people who buy the shares on the Uganda Securities Exchange, MTN brought in 303 billion, which is equal to 59% of MTN Momo brought in 303 billion, which is equal to 59% of what MTN Uganda brings in. So it's really big news, and it's something that needs to be talked about. Although as we speak, there's going to be an extraordinary annual general meeting to decide on this. So it's not yet a concluded matter.
Okay, so could you please, I have a question.
Yes.
What could be the reason as to why the companies want to demerge? What could be the main reason as to why the demerger?
Now, demerger, when they demerge,
yes,
the dividends or the profits definitely increase, because now we have the fintech arm operating so independently, and all monies now are consolidated in the fintech arm. Eventually, of course, the shareholders have to share, but now the money that comes from the fintech arm is always huge enough. At least now there is profit sharing at least, and now the burden reduces from when it is a joint thing. People do not use it quite often than when they are using it now as an independent body, as an independent company on its own. And now even the fact that they want to list it on the Securities Exchange now, it's one of their goals. They want to list it soon. So when they list it, of course, now it gains market even internationally. Yes. And now, of course, the recognition increases and the profitability of the company is increased.
Does it have some possible disadvantages that comes with demerging?
not as much to the company. Actually, the company gains more than there's not that many disadvantages in it. The company actually it's moving from the stiff regulatory net approach that was on it before. And then I heard Allan talk about how Mtn Momo is going to, under this new company, is going to be listed on the Uganda Securities Exchange. And this is what we call an IPO, initial public offering. And there is a whole process that goes into it.
What's the detail of the IPO? What is it all about?
An IPO is an initial public offering. It's like when a company gives part of its equity to the general public to buy it from the stock exchange. Like, for example, how on a stock exchange we have DFCU, we have Babu, there are very many companies. There's also MTN, there's Airtel. So now Mtn Momo wants to have its own on the IPO.
Yeah.
And before even they list on the IPO, from the dividends that Mtn Momo itself brought for its shareholders, its minority shareholders, it was the second highest as at the end of last year.
Wow.
But then before they actually do this IPO, they're supposed to approach an investment bank. There are very many investment banks in Uganda. There's Citibank, there's Stanbic, there's Absa, and they're supposed to underwrite and see what share price they can give out to the public, right? Now, upon that, MTN Momo signs what they call a prospectus to the Capital Markets Authority. Capital Markets Authority reviews through it, and there are certain conditions that they look at. One condition that should be looked at is that the book value of MTN has to be less than the market value.
But taking you back,
yes,
if you sit and evaluate the past years, you see MTN has been gaining a lot of money.
Yes, a lot of traction.
This whole company.
Yes.
So now, won't it affect it somehow?
Like that, I really, maybe to come in, I really have a feeling, of course, it has been making money because it has been the biggest taxpayer in the country, MTN, the past years at least. It has been making a lot of money. So now when it demerges, and now one arm is taken to the other side, so the restrictions reduce, and now the income flow increases. So definitely it will now make a lot more profits. Only that now the other one will be counted as an independent company of its own. That's what the demerger does. Though eventually, like we said, the profits will eventually be shared by the shareholders. It is definitely a big gain to the MTN as a group, as a general group.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have a question.
Yes.
What one reason, like one large reason that companies consider in the process of demerging, or it's just a decision that they make, like, let's demerge this and put it under this company?
As I mentioned earlier, it's usually regulatory constraints. And also, sometimes companies demerge if they're seeing a certain business is not bringing that much profits for them. Like if they realize they're putting in a lot of money, but then it's not reciprocating back. Okay. You understand? Now, for example, if I can give an example in Germany, when everyone was talking about Uber and Lyft and all these companies, BMW bought one of the BMW in Germany thought that to reach a point where people stop buying cars and people would just be using taxis. So they bought one company, I think it was Lyft, and then upon buying Lyft, they merged it and started working business with it. But then they realized that the number of people buying their cars was not reducing. So they decided to demerge from it because the BMW concentrates on manufacturing and not the taxi business.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Now, another good example is the M-Pesa thing in Nigeria. Because initially, if you were to get money from either to withdraw or deposit, you had to walk to the point where you can withdraw from. Now, when they introduced M-Pesa and they digitally monetized the economy, now it became easier and more safer for people that you could use your phone and purchase whatever you want. Yes. Either order or withdraw any monies using M-Pesa. Now, M-Pesa is the replica of Mtn Momo in Uganda. And now the fintech arm of MTN will actually do exactly what M-Pesa does the other side. Everything is going digital.
So in short, MTN's purpose of demerging, it's a good impact.
Yes.
It's an excellent one.
It's an excellent one, but then there are certain things that need to be clarified for the minority stakeholders.
The loopholes?
Yes, which I think Allan can clarify more.
Yeah, the minority stakeholders, since we told you that the minority stakeholders will only be owning 23.9%. And now the problem there comes with, if a decision is to be reached, like the decision he was talking about, they have a meetup soon. I think it is
22nd July.
22nd July. Yeah.
Yes.
So when they meet, the problem is that the trust, which are the minority shareholders, will have no representation on the board when that decision is going to be reached. Now they are disadvantaged. So any decision that comes, even if it's against them, they will have no say. So they will have to concur with whatever will come out. And sometimes it can be to their detriment, the fact that we do not have anyone on the board to represent them. That's the only problem that can come in, but it affects the minority shareholders.
Even more so, it goes to a point that there is one of the things that should be talked about in the meeting is that the board of Mtn Uganda should actually tell the minority shareholders when they're actually going to list on the stock exchange, and also if they're going to release the financials, because we do not want to have an instance of how Jumia betrayed the African people. You know, Jumia is like the Amazon of Africa. There's a way they betrayed us, or cannot betrayed us per se, but then they listed on the New York Stock Exchange without even considering the minority stakeholders.
Exactly.
So I think that's something that MTN Uganda should look into when they're having that extraordinary annual general meeting.
So, okay, I have a question.
Yes.
Looking at the population of Uganda, you realize we have so many classes. We have the high class, the middle class, and the average class, the low allowance.
Yeah.
So when this new initiative is put into practice, if I might say, how are they going probably cope up about this? Are there going to be different changes, or maybe in case of dealing this, you're going to deal this, because how are they going to cope up with this new...
I remember when MTN was announcing that demerger, it actually made it crystal clear that there is nothing that will change. Even your transactions will continue. You won't lose any monies if you have deposited on the mobile money.
So
everything will continue as it will be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good one.
Yeah, because that's like data protection and all.
Yeah, the data protection office actually. Now, of course, they are protecting personal data. When they say that no one will be affected, they look at not affecting personal data of individuals. Now, I think that's the reason as to why the data protection office last week brought in a very...
Recently, I was reading in an article, and they talked about the data protection office trying to restrict Google in Uganda. Could you please elaborate more about that?
Yeah, the data protection office, it acts like an ombudsman for personal data in Uganda. Like they introduced the idea of a tax ombudsman. So now the data protection office is like a protector of personal data in Uganda. So that office recently, there were four individuals that reported Google, that Google collected, processed, and controlled their personal data. So when it took their personal data, yet it was not registered in Uganda. When you look at the Data Protection and Privacy Act of Uganda, which was passed in 2019, it's CAP 97 now. Section 1 of that act and Section 2 says that for a person to collect personal data or to process it or control it, he should be registered with the Data Protection Office of Uganda, of which Google is not registered. So those guys were saying that Google cannot collect our personal data and use it in other jurisdictions, yet it is not registered in Uganda. So they reported, of course, to the Data Protection Office, which protects personal data. So it handed down a very important decision for Ugandans, of course, because in the first place, why would you collect my personal? Because personal data is sensitive data. When you look at the definition in Section 1, it's data that hinges down on the life of an individual. How old are you? What do you own? It is very sensitive data to an individual. So when you collect it without an authority of the governing body in Uganda, you cannot continue like that. So the Data Protection Office, in the judgment that it gave recently, it said that Google henceforth should make sure that within 30 days the decision is made, has registered with the Data Protection Office, and as it collects data and processes it, it should first inform the individuals that it collects it, and it should make sure it is in compliance with the Data Protection and Privacy Act of 2019.
Okay, so does that mean Google is going to maybe first send a confirmation to someone to get the information?
I think they'll be limited to a certain extent.
So who can access the data, who can't access it, and how will you access it? Because now it's data protection.
Yeah, with data protection, how it works, if you want to, now for example, NIRA. NIRA is registered with the Data Protection Office. They know that they are licensed to collect personal data from individuals about their date of birth and your registration, like ID processing, everything. So they know as you give in data, it will be protected at a certain point. They have the procedures and regulations that control them. If you register with the Data Protection Office, there are certain procedures now you will start following. Google was not following those procedures. Because, for example, one of the procedures I think it's under section 20 of that act, is that as you collect personal data, you should protect it, and after using it, make sure you debunk it, as in you delete it from all your files. Okay. So that's why there is a renewal of IDs like it's going on currently. Yes. They have debunked all the other data they had, now they are renewing, and you can come back and feed in the data. They don't keep with your data forever, because that is the limitation in the act, which these guys were not following the act, since the Google guys were not registered in Uganda. Now that was the problem, and they're infringing on the right to privacy according to our constitution.
Oh.
Yeah.
So has the law been passed already?
No, it was a decision. But was it, which court was it in? Was it in a tribunal?
It was a tribunal. The Data Protection Office serves as a tribunal. Just like you see the Tax Appeals Tribunal.
Okay.
Yeah, Data Protection Office is also a tribunal to protect personal data.
Oh,
yeah.
that's
It's a progressive decision. I have a feeling it's a progressive decision, because now, henceforth, even as other big companies now, they cannot just come and collect people's data without information or guarantee from the Data Protection Office.
Including even this company at Elon Musk, the internet company that's about to bring soon.
Exactly. It will have to first register.
Implemented of yet.
It is going to be implemented.
Yes.
They gave,
it's in the process of implementation.
They gave Google 30 days to make sure, as it continues to collect it, it should first register within 30 days, lest it will be blocked, and it can even pay some reparations.
Oh, I think that's something shall watch out for.
Yeah. It's a progressive decision.
Thank you so much for watching the episode of CCP Digest. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.